Good morning, everyone, and thank you very much for the invitation to be here. I'm Adam Simmons. I head up a team in Highways England developing the next road investment strategy. I joined in October, and it really struck me that although obviously it's a responsibility for my team to really pull together a lot of what Highways England is doing in this regard, it absolutely is a collaborative approach. We have to bring together a huge amount of intelligence and information from across Highways England. So there's a lot of expertise there, but also, of course, from organisations like Transport for the South East and other subnational transport bodies, representative bodies. This really has to sort of draw on quite a range of evidence. I should say that Elliot Shaw, the Executive Director for Strategy and Planning, was absolutely planning to be here. Unfortunately, last week he was off sick, so he just asked me to step in, but he sends his apologies and hopes to catch up with folks very soon. So I won't try and sort of compete with the sort of bananas statistic. I did try and see if I can find one, but that was a failing battle. But I think what really does strike me is that although the strategic road network for Highways England is a very small part of the overall road network, of course we carry such a huge volume of traffic, including 2/3 of all freight. So it's really important that we spend the investment wisely. And I just wanted to say first a little bit about where current investment is going, and then say a little bit about how we're planning to pull together all the evidence for thinking about investment in the next roads period. So the first roads investment strategy for the roads period we're in at the moment set out a very ambitious programme of work in the South East, £2.2 billion of investment in this period, and I'll just sort of pull out 4 schemes that are due to start work in the first half of this year. The M20 Junction 10A near Ashford is just over 100 million pounds of investment there, and 3 smart motorway schemes: the M20 in Kent, the M23 in Sussex, and the M27 in Hampshire. In total, just over 500 million of investment there, and adding a lot of new capacity, and of course bringing on new technology onto the roads, which just helps us manage the traffic and helps to ease the congestion in those areas. You won't be able to see the sort of the names of the schemes, but I'm sure where it's pointing to will be familiar to all of you in the room. But I just really wanted to draw out here that we're really interested in focusing investment, and of course, sort of delivering the government's investment programme across the whole area here in the southeast. But of course, we do know that there's always more to be done. So I just wanted to say a little bit about the going forward into the next roads investment strategy and investment in the next roads programme. This diagram here really just shows the cycle of work as we go through different roads investment strategies. And as I said at the start, what has really struck me is the sheer importance that's been put on the evidence gathering stage and the research stage of these cycles going through. And I think, as we've touched on, a lot of the really trickiest, knottiest problems to tackle are the ones that need a really sort of long period of development and sort of probably indeed investment over a number of roads periods. Martin mentioned at the start how it's important to tie back in with our longer term vision, and I think we're planning to do exactly that. I'll just sort of pull out some of the things that we're doing now with a view to the future. Of course, we're well aware of some of the challenges around the M25, and as the strategic study, the M25 Southwest Quadrant study, we've been doing a lot of work with a lot of work with people here in this room about thinking about how we can ease the pressure on that part of the network, not just thinking about the road itself, but perhaps how demand sort of feeds into that part of the network. Elsewhere, of course, we are doing work well underway on the Lower Thames crossing, which we know is a government priority, and again, a lot of work's being done with you all in the room. And I think what I'd say is, as well as developing a plan for how we will deliver that scheme, we're well aware that that could have impacts on the network sort of indirectly. So we're really wanting to work with you to understand where those pressures will come and how we can think about that sort of network in the round. And of course, we're well aware that work to expand Heathrow is underway, and we're doing a lot of work with Heathrow Airport Limited, with Heathrow Southern Rail, others, to really understand how we can sort of manage the demand, increased demand on Heathrow, and how we can respond to that. We mentioned the longer term vision. We published Connecting the Country, which is the name of that document, last year. And what we set out there were 9 key trends that we saw would really influence and shape the future of the strategic road network. I won't go through each of those in detail, but we sort of set them out in 3 broad areas. We, of course, expect demand to change, how the network is used, and particularly around connectivity and how freight is using the network, particularly around sort of just-in-time, on-demand use of the network. As the National Infrastructure Commission pointed out, we expect the infrastructure itself to be evolving, obviously new technologies, how do we use those to bring savings, efficiencies, to develop better solutions for things. And of course we expect vehicles themselves to change, be that the electrification programme, or the connectivity and autonomous vehicles that come through, or indeed how people access data to think about how they plan their journeys. And I think we're particularly conscious of the point on connectivity. Government, we know, has a very strong focus on this. We talked about connectivity to ports, so we really want to work with that. And again, we really want to think about how we can help drive forward some of the more innovative areas, such as connected vehicles. And I'll say a little bit about that shortly. This next slide, it's just sort of showing the process that we go through. It unpacks a little bit the cycles that we talked about before. It's probably worth just saying where we are at the moment. Highways England, we published our strategic road network initial report just before Christmas, and DFT is running a consultation on that. We expect soon Department to be thinking about to publish its response to that, which help give us a sense of what priorities we ought to be focusing on. But of course, Highways England and others have been feeding into that. What I would just say about what the initial report set out was really the need for quite a balanced investment. We obviously see a lot of the headline schemes being mentioned, but we really feel we must continue to invest in maintenance, the operation of the network. Let's keep what we have there already at that high level of customer service that the strategic road network provides, and that important service that it provides. And also thinking about investment in some of the smaller areas, such as designated funds. We talked about the environment, some of the innovative areas. Designated funds are a really important pot of money that enables us to unlock some of that, and particularly some of the points around integration. Integration has been a common theme, and I think what I would just say is that we know it's not an easy problem to crack, so that's why we really want to be working with partners such as Network Rail, thinking about some of the challenges of how we get from one particular mode onto another, so things like strategic park and rides. We're working with regional planning teams to think about how new planning developments can be served by the road network. And also I mentioned designated funds. I think it's really important that one of the new functions of Highways England is the ability to spend off network to support things like cycle routes, pedestrian, and so on. And I think I'm kind of getting the steely stare, so I will wrap up. But I'll just sort of leave with just by example of that sort of thing. It's really important that we start to actually tackle some of these tricky problems and start trying new things. And there's just an example here of the A2M2 connected corridors trial that we know is underway, and I think can bear some really important fruit to think about some of these new technologies, these new challenges. So thank you very much, and I'll hand back to Kathy.